Well, hello and welcome to In the Growth Space. This is the show for business owners and leaders who have a thirst for growth. My name is David McGlennen and I'm your host. Thanks so much for listening in. If this is your first time listening, I just want to say a warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining. This podcast is all about growth. It's about business growth. It's about team growth and personal growth. And on this week's episode, I have a guest. My guest's name is Christie Turley. She and I are talking about the value of building your intuition and how it can be your secret weapon for getting to your desired outcomes faster and better. It's a topic that doesn't get talked about a lot in the business world, and Christie has written a book about it called The Intuition-Led Business. Now, before we get into the conversation with Christie, let me just tell you a little bit about her. She's a high-growth strategist that sparks innovation in businesses worldwide. Her superpower is uncovering the hidden 1% zone of genius that multiplies influence and impact. And that leads to massive results. For example, one of her clients grew from $0 to $15 million in under 1 year. She launched her career while she was juggling college classes, and by the age of 24, she'd grown 2 businesses by more than $30 million. Amazing. Since then, she started 8 businesses, including her current business, Limelight Alchemy, and that's her branding and marketing firm. Christie Turley has worked with notable clients such as American Express, USAA, Carnival Cruises, and thousands of speakers, authors, and coaches. Her signature workshop, Breakthrough, helps entrepreneurs evolve new ways of presenting themselves to the world and break through their upper limit so that they can create exponential impact in their businesses. Christie believes that many entrepreneurs ignore the spiritual side of business, and that creates burnout and causes them to miss the invisible opportunities that are hiding in plain sight. And that's why she wrote her book called The Intuition-Led Business. She also does interviews on her own podcast called The Intuition-Led Business. And she's an engaging speaker. She's a wonderful individual, and I'm so excited to have her on the show today. She lives in the Rocky Mountains with her husband of 19 years and their 2 children who came miraculously after many years of intending. So let's get into that conversation with Christie today. Well, Christie, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited about today and excited to get to talk with you.
Likewise, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know in the intro, I talked about your book called The Intuition-Led Business. It's been one of my favorites. I read it this year. Or actually, it might have been right at the end of the year. I don't remember now, but I know I read it earlier. And I always like to hear like the backstory. Like, how did you come to write this book? What was the story behind it?
I love that question. And yes, thank you for having me. So yeah, this book was, as luck would have it, it was very intuitively guided to write this book. And I always felt like I was going to write a book from a young age, from being a child. I just love to write and create stories. I even have a shelf full of books about how to write a screenplay. I always felt like I had this inside of me. Yeah. And, going through the years, I always kind of wondered, when was that time going to come? And about 3 years ago, I had someone tell me something like, you're going to write a book. I know you are. Like, what do you think you'd write about? And I couldn't answer this person right away. And I had to think about it. And I prayed about it and I got an immediate answer.
Really?
Intuition. And I said, I don't know that I'm really qualified to talk about that. And I also was kind of like, what? Not on marketing or business or branding? Like, intuition, really? How does that relate? And so then fast forward a couple more years, and I had a client say, I have this book idea. And what do you think about it? Do you think I should write it? And I said, oh, absolutely. And then we started to outline ways that he could really make it a bestseller and, whether that was the content or the marketing. And, the next week I had another client that said, are you going to write a book? And I forgot to say too, this first client, he said, Christy, don't you have a book? Like, do you have a book? And I said, no, I don't. He was really surprised. So then the next week, this other client said the same thing pretty much. Like, do you have a book? No. Why not? So it was interesting. And then the next week, so this is just a span of 3 weeks, I get this voicemail and it was the wrong number. Okay. But it was a voicemail that said, it is urgent. We speak with you. Your book has been selected for XYZ prestigious event, whatever it was.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, okay, what is this? This is weird.
Yes.
I've had these conversations that I've never had before about books with clients, wondering if I had a book. And then I get this voicemail, that's the wrong number. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to pray about this. And I did. And it was kind of like the answer I got was, yeah, we've been sending you hints. So glad you decided to finally tune in. And I then proceeded to write this book in like 21 days over the holiday.
No kidding.
Yeah, I just woke up early and I wrote it in the morning before I started work. And it's just a testament to, by small and simple things, you can make a big thing happen. And it doesn't happen all at once, because it can be fast too. And especially when you're guided by intuition as opposed to your experience or your intellect. I felt like that book really just flowed out of me. I didn't know I had it all in me. And I would start each morning with a prayer, like just allow me to be guided to what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to share. Stories would pop into my mind, or I'd think of a book on a shelf that was like a clue or a reminder into something I wanted to talk about. And so the reason the reason I wrote it is because I was told to write it. But I feel like the reason I was told to write it is another question to ask, right? Why was I told to write it? And I feel like in my life experience, I've spent so many years really dependent on my experience or other people's experience, like people I hired as a coach or a team member or whatever. And I've relied a lot on my own intellect. I'm a very smart person. I was an honor student in school. Like I have always depended on myself.
Sure.
And I found that, especially going through 7 years of trying to start a family, having infertility struggles, 7 years, most people give up before then. We finally were successful with 2 daughters, miracle babies.
Amazing.
But through that experience, I really had to lean on my intuition. That was the only reason why we got through that experience and had the success that we did, was because I finally learned to rely on my intuition more so than my intellect and experience, which just comes from ego. And I'll tell you this one thing that I learned, and you can ask your next question. But Dr. Wayne Dyer said that ego stands for edging God out.
I remember
and that is a huge difference between instinct and intuition.
That's brilliant. And I remember that passage in the book. And I think that's so spot on. I guess one of my questions for you, Christy, why the business angle, like the business or the intuition led business? Why that angle? And I'm kind of curious about that.
Oh, that's a good question. So what I've found is that we as human beings like to operate in silos. We like to put our personal matters in one silo, our professional matters in another silo. Church or spirituality is in yet another silo. And there's not really very much cross-pollination. Right. And, what I found is learning about intuition, I was learning a lot from spiritual teachers. That was it. No one really was applying it to their business. Of course, in the business world, there's a semi-spiritual topic called manifestation, where law of attraction, where you have a desire, you follow these steps, you get what you want. That's very materialistic. A lot of times it's like, I want $1 million or I want this car or whatever. Right. And so, there was what I basically saw is I looked at all these inventors. I looked at all these people, these poets, these writers, these authors, these people that I've been inspired by my entire life. What did they depend on? Intuition. Albert Einstein said that the only valuable thing is intuition. Albert Einstein.
That's amazing.
Said that.
Yeah.
And some of the greatest inventions have come through intuition. whether it was just coming out of a dream state and having like an aha moment, or, being on a walk, or wherever the ideas come, they're usually not when you're toiling in front of your computer or in your workshop. And so as far as I know, I'm probably one of the first, if not the first, talking about intuition and applying it to business, because what good is intuition if you're only using it in your personal life?
Right.
And not in business to lead? I mean, a lot of us know a lot of famous people like Sir Richard Branson, who goes with his gut. Yeah. Well, is gut the same thing as intuition? I ask you.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. And I think there can be some misconceptions also about what is the gut? What is the intuition? Is this guidance or this idea that I came up with, is it truly from divine guidance or intuition, my soul, the soul level, or is it from ego? Is it from because I want to be like someone, or I aspire to do this, and so I'm going to do what they do? That's an idea. Is it pure?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So how do you tell the difference there?
Yeah. So there's a checklist I actually give in my book, and I'd be happy to read through the checklist if you would like.
Yeah, I'd love it. Yeah.
Okay. So here's what you do. So there's a series of questions that I developed just after a lot of practice. Yeah. Really discerning. That's the operative word. Discernment. Discernment is so important, especially today, because when we hear something from someone, whether it's media, whether it's a guru, whoever it is, some expert, we need to decide for ourselves and discern for ourselves if that is our truth. It could be their truth, but not necessarily our truth or God's truth. So this discernment is so important. And so when an idea pops into your head, these are the questions that you could ask yourself. So, was I feeling positive when I received this intuitive guidance?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Positivity is very important. Albert Einstein said that you can only solve a problem from a higher state. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Higher state than when the problem was created. You have to be above, the solution is above the problem. It's not at the same level as the problem. Yeah. So was I feeling positive when I received this intuitive guidance? Number 2, did the thought, person, or image that came to my mind come like a flash? Like, in other words, you weren't thinking about something else that led you to something else that led you to something else. It was almost like a little mail slot, like the envelope just pushed through the mail slot all of a sudden, and it came like a pop or like a flash. It's usually an indicator that it's your intuition. Number 3, am I now in this moment feeling positive, well rested, and well fed? It's really important.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I can get a clear communication or clear confirmation.
Okay.
So this is a way to recheck. So that's why, it's important to sleep on things sometimes.
Sure.
You kind of get excited about an idea. You're like, oh my gosh, that would change the world, or that would surely make $1 million. You get so excited. And that also keeps you from seeing things clearly as well, because it's the level of excitement. You almost have to go to like a neutral yet positive state. So sleep on it. The next day, does it still feel good?
Okay. Yeah.
And making sure you're well rested, because if you're tired or you're hangry,
yes,
you're hangry. Do you think you're going to be able to really see things clearly?
Yeah.
Probably not.
I was going to say I wouldn't.
Yeah. This is why morning rituals are so important too. I will just add that in.
Absolutely.
You got to start the day off on the right foot. And if you're just going straight into work without spending that time with yourself and just clearing the clutter out of your mind, you're not going to be as effective. So
I can't even imagine, just on that topic for just a second, I can't even imagine like just starting into work right out of the gate, because I've been doing my morning routine, my morning ritual for so long now that if I don't have it, like the rest of the day is going to be wrecked. I have to have my morning routine.
Yes.
And so anyway, I just have to reiterate that part of the process, I think, is so key, just to have that morning routine, have that morning ritual, so that you set your day up to, for all of the rest that's coming.
Yeah, it helps you also be in a proactive state as opposed to a reactive state, letting
True.
life happen to you.
Yeah.
We've all gone to work and had fires to put out.
Right.
How much better equipped are we to fight those fires if we've invested time in ourselves to fill our cups, put that oxygen mask on before returning to help others.
Yep.
And we're so much more proactive. It sets our body, our mind, our spirit into a positive state as opposed to that reactive beta type state, the brain state. So, So number 4 of this checklist would be, does it invite me to do good?
Okay. Yeah.
So think about this. Okay. If you got some intuitive guidance, or you thought it was guidance to do something that would hurt someone, is that really?
Yeah. That's not going to be. Right.
No.
Yeah.
So it's got to invite you to do good. Number 5, does the thought of this path or action make me feel positive and uplifted? There's an exception to this. I'll get to it in a minute.
Okay.
6, can I act on this without feeling like I need to know, think, or research more before believing this guidance?
Okay.
So if you cannot, if you feel like, oh, I've got to think about this or I've got to research this, then give yourself that time and then go back through the checklist.
Okay.
So that you can make a really good, confirmation of what you have felt as the idea. And then finally, the last question is, does it feel like definite guidance, almost like it's a command?
Okay.
So it's like, go do this, go research this, go read this, go look at that book, or is it like, oh, maybe it would be cool if that's more like your thinking voice.
Yeah. Right.
Not so much like a, direct command. So now if you answered yes to all those questions, then most likely that intuitive guidance is in your highest good and you can go for it.
Yeah.
If you answered no to any of those questions, then you can check one more thing. So sometimes we get guidance that puts us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
So we're like, no, like my example with my book.
Yeah.
With writing my book, no, that couldn't be it because I'm not qualified to write a book about intuition yet. Or why wouldn't it be about marketing or business?
Sure. Yeah.
So, it can put you out, if it puts you out of your comfort zone, then you're totally normal.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And those negative feelings, like if you're feeling like doubt, worry, fear, those emotions can help you keep you safe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, especially if these intuitive hits are inviting you to do good and it feels positive, yet you are scared. I say lean into that. It's like, it's a good thing,
Yeah,
and
right.
So it might be possible that one of those questions is a no because of that reason. So that would be something to look at.
Yeah. So you used a word, and I want to kind of lean into that a little bit. Before we started recording, I talked about using my intuition, and I in these conversations, I do that a lot. So you use the word feeling, if it feels one way or another. So, and I know in the book, you talk about the different kinds of, and I'm trying to recall, it's
spiritual senses.
Yeah, senses. Yeah. So what if I'm, more visual as opposed to kinesthetic or feeling, or, maybe I'm more oral, I hear things more. Does that still hold up?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we all have different spiritual senses. There's actually 10, and I go through 4 of them in my book.
Yeah.
And think about when you were back in school. There were certain ways that you preferred to learn, correct?
Right.
Like you could have been a visual learner. You could have been an auditory learner. You could have been a kinesthetic learner, which you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And you could have been a verbal learner. So, we all have physical senses. And we have dominant physical senses. So if you're a visual learner, you're probably more dominant with, your eyes as that physical sense, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to learn best by seeing charts and graphs and outlines and photos and videos. You prefer to watch a video than read text,
Right.
and presentation slides, right? And then if you are auditory, then you're going to learn best by hearing, by listening to verbal instructions or having discussions with people or repeating what you learned to a friend or colleague. A verbal learner is going to learn best by reading and writing through books and by taking notes. And a kinesthetic learner is going to learn best by doing, by using the physical body, touching, feeling those, a tactile hands-on work.
Yeah.
So there's a correlation to your spiritual senses, I found. Like if you tend to be more of a visual learner, then your intuition is going to come through that channel a little bit more than maybe other channels. So a visual learner, the dominant visual learners, there's this word that is a buzzword in some circles that is almost triggering to some people because they think it means something else, but it doesn't. It is simply a French word. Okay. The French word is clairvoyance. Oh, yeah. The English translation is clear seeing. So, and a lot of people think that means psychic. It doesn't, because that's more like future telling, fortune telling. It's different. That's not what we're talking about. So the intuitive information for a clear seeing or clairvoyant type of person with that spiritual sense is going to come through like a quick movie playing in the mind, but like your eyes are closed. You're not seeing it with your physical eyes. It's not like you're seeing ghosts in your room or something. That's different. Medium. That's different. That's a gift, not a sense. Okay. So it's like, or you'll see a symbol in your mind. So I had this happen to me yesterday. I'm working with someone putting together a program. I'm drifting off to sleep and I saw image, heard a phrase. And in that millisecond or whatever it took for me to receive that information, actually telling this person the thought that came through took like 10 minutes to explain. But it was like these three things and I knew what it meant, but it's like this, like if you already have a vocabulary that you've formed, like I'm very big into symbols. I mean, I wanted to be a writer. So I loved that. Right. Sure. So that of course is how my intuition is going to speak to me, as well as the clear hearing or clear audience, because I am huge with that. Sometimes I'll hear a word. It's not physically I'm hearing a word. It's like, it's almost like I'm thinking a thought in my head and it comes through like words. Okay. So it's like that when I saw image, and then I heard a phrase, it was like a thought. That's what people don't understand. Like you can be very clear audience. In fact, I feel like thought leaders, experts, authors, leaders, they tend to be very clear audience because they're good with their voice. So if you're good with your voice and speaking, and if you're really tuned in, sometimes you speak things that you're like, I didn't know I knew that, but I did. Oh, yeah. It's not like you're making it up. It feels true, right? But it's like, wow, really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Others, of course. Well, I actually talk about a bonus fifth one, but it's clear feeling. And so people tend to use those words like, I feel this. Right. Or like if you take a Myers-Briggs test, the personality test, you tend to be a feeling person as opposed to a thinking person. Right. And then the clear cognizant or the clear knowing, those people tend to be like the Myers-Briggs thinking types. They just know something without knowing how they know.
Right. Okay.
So these are all spiritual senses, and you can learn more about it in my book. Like I said, there's 10. I talk about 5 of them. So
let's take the leap then back to business. How do we use these things that our intuition in business, and what's the benefit for really using and maybe even strengthening or finding our intuition if we've not really ever used it before or thought we've used it? How do we build that into business?
So, well, how about I give you this? I'll give you like a before and after picture, because you've got to invest the time into really developing your intuition, because everybody has it. Everybody has it. We're born with it. Yeah. It's just how strong is it? It's like your muscles. Right. Like how, do you have a weak bicep or a strong bicep? Right. Are you able to lift 10 pounds or 100 pounds? Right. Same thing with intuition. We've just got to learn how to tap into it and learn how to use it. So once you start using it, it's about applying that to your business. And so, for example, maybe you can relate. Relying totally on your experience or what the data or the charts tell you. Yeah. That would be like the before. Sure. The before picture of intuition. Yes, it's important. not dismissing that at all. When you are coming from an intuition-led standpoint, then you're going to allow that information in, and you're going to trust in your hunches about the unseen and what's below the surface.
Okay.
So this piece of data, yes, if we just, said equal sign this, that's what it means. Or is there something unseen or something below the surface that you've got to dig into, do more research, follow that hunch?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's an example. Another example would be before applying intuition to your business, it would be like making decisions quickly. Now, some people are great at making decisions quickly. Some people aren't, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's say you are. Let's say you just make decisions quickly. Well, using your intuition, you would think through possible scenarios, and then you would tune into your emotions and your intuition.
Okay.
That's the difference between going from instinct, like, yeah, that sounds good, versus, does that seem right?
Yeah.
Is that true? Is what this person telling me true? Do I make my decision based upon what that person is telling me? Or do I do my own research, ask other questions, so, and then you really tune into your intuition. Does it feel right? Does it feel true? That's the discernment piece.
Okay. So is it more that, because it sounds to me like you're not just jumping in and just saying, okay, this feels like the right thing, boom, go. It's almost like I got to kind of check in a little bit, and there's like a pause. Maybe there's a space between what I'm thinking or hearing or feeling, and then making that decision. So it's really kind of taking a temperature check or a pulse check, if you will.
Exactly. I mean, and these things could be good. It's like you've been offered this amazing opportunity and you want to say yes immediately,
Right.
Yet if you take that pause and you say, okay, is this in my highest good? That's the key question. Is this in my highest good? Is this aligned to where I'm going, who I am? Is it going to take away? Am I going to have to sacrifice something I'm not willing to sacrifice? Does it go against my non-negotiables?
Yeah.
And really taking that time to really thoughtfully think through it instead of enthusiastically saying yes.
Yes.
In the moment. I think that's important. And then I think for the people that maybe they don't make decisions quickly, they may doubt their own feelings or their thoughts or their intuition. And so they turn to other people and they seek advice from other people, or they crowdsource advice on Facebook and they're like, what do you think? Or whatever. Sales have gone down. Why? And asking other people instead of asking themselves or looking into the information. So what I would say to those people is, that's the before picture. But once you learn this, the after picture is you totally trust your feelings, your thoughts, your intuitive guidance. And the stronger you get, the quicker you get.
So it's a matter of just practicing it and using it over and over and over again.
It's like it's like unlearning what you've learned.
Right.
The conditioning, the programming, everyone's different. People may have been taught to make decisions quickly, but maybe that's a program.
Yeah, right.
As opposed to tuning into your intuition, right?
Yeah, because I think that so often, at least, and maybe this is my perception, but so often in business that we've got to look at the spreadsheet, we've got to do the analysis, we've got to check the box here, and we got to make sure that everything adds up. And I guess what I'm maybe hearing is that sometimes we can not have. Yes, we need that data.
Yes,
and we also can kind of sense whether or not what we think the data is telling us is actually right.
Yep.
And then you're saying go uncover it and maybe, take that pause a little bit.
So I will just offer this as a metaphor.
Yeah.
We all know about the iceberg, right? What's on top is a lot smaller than what's below the surface. Think of this and apply it to everything in your life. Because, sometimes what you see is not what you get. And sometimes we've got to go into the hidden and below the surface to really see how large that iceberg is. And that goes for your identity.
Yeah.
That goes for how amazing of a person we all are. We our souls are so unique. And a lot of times we've hidden a gift away. Yeah. And then we realize, maybe it's time to bring that gift into the forefront And that is going to make my business more dynamic.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, in order for you to really shine brighter as a leader, it is an internal journey as much as it is an external journey.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that that's something, number one, that I've discovered personally, that it's an inside game, and being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being a leader is really more about what goes on between our ears and our heart and the inside than, on the outside and learning certain skills and things like that. So I'm so glad you went there, because it's important. And I think it's important, especially as I think about growth, and not just business growth, but personal growth, leadership growth, all of that is really inside. It's an inside, you and you deal. Basically, it's a me and me deal. And anyway, I 100% agree.
Yeah. And that is the iceberg. That is all of us. And life is, do you know what a fractal is? It's like when
I know,
like when a pattern is inside of a pattern, inside of a pattern, inside of a pattern, like Russian nesting dolls or something like that.
Okay. Yes.
So like the hero's journey, for example, like the hero has a problem, meets the challenge, slays the challenge head on, rides off into the sunset, right? This is the hero's journey. Yeah. This is in everything. This is a fractal. It's in books, it's in movies, it's in our lives. Yep. It's multiple times in our lives as well. Every time we go through a different challenge. And so this iceberg is also this fractal. Yeah. And I just challenge you to really look at everything that's going on in your business, everything that's going on in your family, your relationships. What's happening in our external world is simply a clue to what needs to be addressed in our internal world, what needs to be nourished or nurtured or healed. Yeah. And so that is going within, tapping into our intuition, asking for that guidance, is that iceberg below the surface that we all need to discover for ourselves.
Yeah, gosh, I love that. And I often will talk, I do a lot of work with emerging leaders, and I often talk about the subconscious mind, and that our conscious mind is only going to take us so far, but we do have to kind of go below the surface. We've got to uncover some of those things. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that's really kind of like going below the surface in the iceberg, metaphor analogy.
Totally. Like there's basically 3 types of knowledge that we all have. There's what we know. So we know 2 + 2 is 4, right? I know that.
Yeah.
You know that. Yeah. We know what we know we don't know. So I know Spanish, but I don't know Latin.
Yeah.
So I know I don't know that.
Yeah.
So that's like 25%, what you know and what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Then the majority, most is what you don't know. Yeah. That's what I'm really wanting to communicate here. Yeah. Your intuition is like the key to unlock what you don't know. And so there's always something below the surface. I've always been obsessed with mysteries ever since I was a little kid. Yeah. So I'm like wired for this, right? Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
Discovering the mysteries of the universe or discovering the mysteries of another human being.
Yeah.
There's so much more to the story than what they're telling you,
Right. Absolutely.
And the business. I mean, don't forget the business. You got to apply it to the business. It's like the charts example, the analytics. There's always another story below the surface that you're not seeing with your physical eyes.
Yeah, I love that. And I think we've hit on a lot of different things about our intuition. I guess one of the things that I'm thinking about is if I'm a business owner and maybe this is the first time I'm exposed to this. Maybe it's not, but why do I want to do this? What's the benefit of really like exploring my intuition? I mean, I already know, but yes. For those of our listeners that maybe this is challenging for them, maybe, because it's not talked about an awful lot.
Would you like a magic 8-ball, so to speak, to give you whatever answer you need to whatever question whenever you need it?
Absolutely.
Henry Ford had this to say. I want to get the exact quote. So just give me just 1 second. So he said, I have a row of electric buttons in my office. All I have to do is press one of them to call the person who can answer any question on any subject I wish to know relative to the business at hand. I take care of the business and they take care of the questions. So that's one reason.
Yeah.
Another big, huge reason is, do you feel like you have a purpose?
Yeah.
Feel like you have something to share, some kind of impact to make on this world? Do you want to make a difference? If you want to do that, then would you want to deploy a secret weapon that most people aren't using to accomplish that and accomplish it faster?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what I found intuition does.
Yeah.
It's your secret weapon for helping things move along faster. To get where you want to go faster.
Love it. Oh, I love it. So if I've said, yes, okay, I get it. Okay, I want the secret weapon. I want this magic 8-ball. What do I like? Where do I start?
You can start by getting the book.
That was a softball, right? That was like a fastball right down the center.
Yeah, that was a softball. Okay, so I have actually, I received this intuitive guidance a couple of weeks ago and I was like, really? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I followed through with it. So I am giving away a free digital copy to anyone who wants to request one of my book. It's the full book.
Okay.
So a free ebook. I'll give you the website for that. It's intuitionledbusiness.com /free. Okay. Download the free book. Now, I know a lot of people like to have a physical copy. I'm one of those people. So on the next page, once you request it, you're going to have an opportunity to buy the physical copy of the book, as well as a short masterclass on how to master your intuition even faster. Like if you're a quick start kind of person, you just want to get to it faster. Yeah. Definitely take a look at that. It's only $27. So it's like you get a paperback shipped to you and then this masterclass. So that's what I would recommend. So intuitionledbusiness.com /free for the free ebook. And you'll get some bonuses too with that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like this message is so powerful. And I get testimonials all the time from people. And like the other day I was speaking at a conference and this woman, she lifted up the book. She's like, I have your book. Like, I'm like, because it was a Zoom. Yeah. And I was like, that's amazing. I don't even know who this person is, but she has my book. And then she's like in the chat, like talking about how it's changed her life and, you know, these things that she's learned and results that she's had from reading the book. And I'm like, you know what? More people need to know about this. Yeah. And if by offering it for free, a free ebook, I'm able to do that, that's great. Like, I'm like, you know, whatever. Yeah, so I love it. That was the guidance I got and I followed through. So there you go.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. I'm one of those physical copy kind of guys. I love my physical copy, but I also enjoy the electronic copy too. And I think that's a great thing. And we'll put the link in the show notes so that people can go there if you're driving, if you're running or whatever you're doing while you're listening to this. Go to the show notes and you'll be able to get the link to Christie's free ebook. And I have to say, I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see like my copy is highlighted. Like I've got highlights all through this book. It's amazing. There's so much to it that, I mean, even in preparation for our conversation today, I went back through it and looked at some of my highlights. And I think that there was like one section that it's interesting that it kind of hit me because I've been thinking about this a lot recently. And it's just the different seasons and different seasons of business, but then also like this, our regular meteorological seasons, we have seasons of business. And it's almost like that's part of our intuition as well, recognizing those seasons so that we don't fight them. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not sure there's a question in there, but it
I'd love to expand on it. Yeah, please, it's so important because just like spring, summer, fall, winter. Yeah. If you can recognize that you're in a part of your season of life where you might be in a fall or a winter, you're going to have a different energy about you than if you're in a spring or summer. Think about it. It's like fall, things are starting to decay. You may be preparing your lawn for the long winter. You're making preparations to prepare for winter. Winter is death. It's like hibernation. It's gestation. It's a different energy. And then spring, it's when You've got the flowers blooming, they bust through the soil, they're here, they're getting the sun. And you might still have some rainy days, some clues of winter. See, it's never absolute, especially in between, in the transition points. And then you're in summer and you're enjoying things and you're being outdoors and you're inviting people over and going to the pool and enjoying life. Well, this is so similar to even the hero's journey, which I mentioned briefly before. It's like that whole story arc you can see in that season as well. Like the riding off in the sunset is summer. It's like enjoying the fact that you've returned back home, and the hardest part of the journey is like that fall and winter. It's like the fall where you have all these setbacks and these challenges and you haven't quite met your big ordeal yet. Like where you've got to face the giant or face the dragon.
Yeah.
And in that moment, when you finally do face the dragon or the giant, it's this whiff of death. They call this in screenplay writing. It's someone dies, someone almost dies, or there's some kind of death, maybe of a relationship, right? Like you break up or something.
Sure.
So there's a death moment, but the moment of death is also the moment of rebirth. That holds the seed of an epiphany, an awakening, an aha. And you see this, in all books and all movies. There's a reason why we like to go to the movie theater. Well, maybe not anymore. I don't know. Or why we read books.
Yeah.
It's because it's almost like this spiritual awakening. It's like an aha. It's like, it's like you're being entertained because it reminds you of something. It makes you feel something. It helps you learn something, whatever it is that you take out of that experience, right? Because it's something we all experience here in life. Well, the thing about why this relates to intuition is because you've got to be gentle with yourself if you're in this winter phase.
Yeah,
if part of your identity is dying, or part of your business is dying, maybe for example, sales aren't going so well. Like you're in the fall.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't understand why this isn't working. Why all of a sudden are my sales not working? And it's because you're probably in the fall. You're probably, there's something either going on in your life or your business that needs to die, and you need to let it die.
Right.
If you try to resurrect it, try to make it live, throw money at it, you're gonna waste a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Just look at what's happening in your external world and then go within, internally ask what needs to be done here. And then what I found too is when you're in that death phase, maybe it's like a recent divorce or a recent break with a partner, or it's, sales not working like they have, whether it's life or business. Be gentle with yourself. That's the period. Good. Like if you compare that to like a human, that's like the fetus in the womb. It's like that time between death and the fetus in the womb. It's like, just allow things to gestate, allow the new to come to you, and don't try to force it. Don't try to force something that's dying into life, and don't try to force something that's about to be born to live. You cannot force something to be born. Just like a human, you just can't. You gotta wait. You gotta surrender, let go, and let it happen in its own time. I really believe in timing. I really, really do. So I do go into a discussion about that. And, we live in a linear world. We don't think of things as a cycle.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
We're conditioned to think, I born, age 0, live to whatever. And time is like this forward marching arrow.
Right.
And the truth is, if you look at a clock, it's a cycle. If you look at the month, it's a cycle. If you look at the moon, it's a cycle. Right. Aztecs, Mayans, their calendars were cycles. They were circular.
Yeah. Right.
It's just kind of a reframe too. It's like, be patient with yourself and know that you're going to come around again. You're going to feel successful again. Especially, I'm talking to the people who are in that death moment, because I have such compassion for that. It is so hard.
Yes.
When you're in spring and summer, you're like, life is great, but it's going to be great again. It's darkest before the dawn. It will come again.
So true. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I'm so glad I'm so glad you went there, because I think that oftentimes people don't slow down enough to actually think about some of these things and actually go within. And there's such a value of stopping or just slowing down and actually paying attention, because I think, I don't know if it's just the Western world, or if it's just the world, it's like we have to be, full tilt Mach 3 with our hair on fire because more is good. Well, more isn't always good. And I think that that's an important point that I feel like you're making here, is that season is we can't force ourselves to be in summer when really we're in winter and we need to go through spring to get there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's just so much wisdom in that. And if you can I would just challenge your audience to just go within and ask yourself, am I in spring, summer, fall, or winter?
Yeah.
And there's a section in the book. I mean, there's no excuse. It's free.
Yeah.
There's a section in the book that talks about it. And like, what do you do if you're in any of these different seasons, and how do you act differently, and how do you allow yourself to just be?
Yeah.
Have an agenda.
So good. Yeah. And matter of fact, it's so funny you say that, because that's the part that I kind of like landed on as I was going back through some of my highlights. That's really good. All right. So first and foremost, go get the book. I've read it. I love it. There's so much here. There's so much to take from it. I'm just encouraging the audience to go check it out. It's free, for crying out loud. You don't have an excuse. So just go get it. And then if you want the hard copy, like I've got, go get that too, because it's well worth it. And I don't know if you're like me or not, but I like to highlight, because it's like, I want to come back to things. Something that strikes me, and then I want to just be able to come back to it, like I've done. So Christie, tell people, where can they get a hold of you? Where can they get in touch with you or connect with you to hear more? I'd love to make sure that the audience knows how to do that.
Yes, absolutely. So in addition to getting my book, which is in the show notes, I also offer fractional CMO services for people that would like some marketing strategy. Also, we have some implementation services as well. And I've been doing that since 2004, and I absolutely love it, helping people. And now I have this extra superpower of intuition and really knowing, how far we can push the envelope with something, maybe try something innovative that, feels aligned, feels intuitive. A lot of my clients are thought leaders, experts, authors, speakers, and you can check that out. It's Limelight. Like, think about it. You like to be in the limelight, right? Yes. LimelighTAlchemy.com.
Okay. LimelighTAlchemy.com. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And I know that we didn't talk about it here, but I know on the intro, I told everybody about how much of a rock star you are, because, you're an amazing business person and you've had this, great history. So definitely go check out Christie's website. And if it spoke to you, get in contact with her.
Thank you so much, David. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Thank you, Christie. I really appreciate you being here. And thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thanks for tuning in to this episode. This episode for me is so important. You've probably heard me talk about the difference between being and doing. And Christie really brings this to life in her book. And that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed her book, and really why I wanted to have her on the podcast, because too often we as business leaders don't look into our intuition and tune into our intuition. And I think it's a really important topic. It's a really important topic because so many voices are telling us to do, and achieve. When really, if we tune into our intuition, it's going to let us know what we need to do. And not only that, but just who we need to be. And I think that she brings this out in her book. And I really want to encourage you to go get her book. It's really a fantastic book. And she really brings about so many interesting aspects of intuition within the book. And so I really just enjoyed this conversation. One of the things that I just wanted to bring out was the fact that this really is a secret weapon for leaders. That tuning into your intuition and exploring your intuition and just building that intuition and that intuitive muscle, as she talked about, is really useful in our business and leadership world. The one thing she said that is so important, and I've said something similar to this, is that she said, it's with the small and simple things you can make big things happen. And I honestly have to say this is so true in my own life. I know that when I stop just trying to do and achieve and tick things off my task list, but when I sit back and think and I'm able to tune into my intuition, it has made my business and my work so much easier. And I hope that you'll go back and listen to the checklist that Christie gives on really how to tell that your intuition is guiding you. Because I thought those items, that checklist was a really great checklist. So let me just end by saying thank you again for listening. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. I hope that you'll subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating and give us a review as well. Last thing I'd ask is share this episode with somebody that might really enjoy this conversation with Christie regarding intuition and how to use our intuition in business. So until next time, be well and stay in that growth space.